Welcome to MathLink Academy. I am Mr. C, and I'm excited because I'm going to be covering one of my favorite sections, which is multiplying and dividing fractions, which is straightforward. Again, all my sections I love. I love this section too. And so let's get started in knowing how to multiply and divide fractions. We're going to start with multiplying fractions. The main thing for multiplying fractions is you multiply straight across. So multiplication and division of fractions do not require common denominators. Number one, they do not require common denominators, unlike adding and subtracting. To multiply simple fractions, multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. If you have a mixed number, you change those mixed numbers into improper fractions and do what back again, step two, multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. So let's look at this particular problem that we have here. Now, we're missing our operation sign, so I'll put that in there for you. We're multiplying here. So let's go see how this look. So all you do is multiply the numerators, 1, 3, and 5. 1 times 3 is 3, times 5 is 15, and then you multiply the denominators. 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 6 is 48. And so in this case, when we do our answer or write the answer, we're just going to write down when we multiply across. Watch what I'm going to do here. I showed you a little bit of the work. This gives me what? 15, and this gives me 48. Now again, you want to always simplify your answer to make sure it's simplified. Now, can we find a number that goes both in 15 and 48 evenly? Yes, we know one thing is 3. So 3 can go into 15. And in this case, 3 goes into 15. 5. And then how about 3 into 48? In our case, we end up with, in this case, 16. And so then we have 5 over 16 as a final answer. Then we'll circle that. And that's how you multiply. This multiplies straight across. Now I'm going to multiply fractions where the fractions are, in this case, mixed numbers. So all you do, you convert that mixed number into an improper fraction and then multiply across. So let's go to our whiteboard and show how this is done. So here's our problem on the whiteboard. And what I'm going to do is convert these numbers to be improper fractions. Again, let's do the first one. We multiply 3 times 6. 3 times 6 is 18 plus 2 is 20. So end up with that as improper. Multiply 2 times 5, add 1, which is 11 over 2, if I did that correctly. Then we just multiply straight across. Numerator, numerator, denominator, denominator. In this case, 20 times 11, 220, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now, again, you want to reduce your answer and give it to lowest terms. So a couple of ways we can do this. We can reduce this, or we could just basically divide 6 into and in this case, once we do the work here, and let's do this. And so how many times the 6 goes into 2? It can't go into 2, but 22 it can without going over. We say it'd be 3. 3 times that is 18. Go to subtraction. And with 4, 0. So let me see. I know 5 times 6 is 5. 6 is 36. Oh, let me use 6. Because I know 7 would be a little bit bigger, too bigger. So 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract again. End up with a 4. That's our remainder. There's no other numbers to carry back down. So we end up with 6, 36, and our remainder 4 over our divisor, 36. Now remember, 4 over 36 is not reduced, so we can see that. And we divide both of them by 2. So I'm just going quickly. This is 36, and this would be 2 over 3. and that'll be our final answer. So the multiply mixed numbers is to convert them to improper fractions and then multiply across. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just talk about, in this case, multiply, and I'll show you a little quick way. And if you like this, you can do this. If you still have questions on it, you look at some other resources to understand how we're going to do this. Now, we're going to multiply. We multiply straight across, 3 times 8, and then the 4 times 9. Now, let me go to the whiteboard to show you how we also do another way of multiplying, so when you get your answer, it's already reduced. So let me show you this. So here's our problem. And you only do this method when you multiply. So when you multiply, you do this method I'm about to show you. I'm not going to multiply 3 times 8 and then 4 times 9. We'll show you a quick way that or some ways if you have big numbers, how to reduce. What I do is called cross cancellation. And so I look at the 3 and I look at the 9 and see, is there something that both numbers can go into? A number can go both into that. And so in this case, what can go, and the answer is yes. 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 also can go into 9 3 times. And then I do the same thing. You only do with the numbers that are numerator and denominator. And so in this case, I'm going to look at the 4 and the 8. You don't go up. You can go up and down, but you also can go across. This is cross cancellation. We call it cross cancellation because we're going across and looking at the numerator and the denominator. Can two numbers can divide evenly in both 4 and 8? Yes, and the biggest number is 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 4 divided by, or 8 divided by 4, excuse me, is 2. In this case, notice what I have in blue. I'm going to multiply 1 times 2 for the numerator, which is 2, and 1 times 3 is 3. And that's my answer in simplest form. When I do it in that particular way, it gives me the answer in the simplest form. Now, if I didn't do it that way, just did our original way, which you can do. So you have 3/4 times 8 over 9. And so 3 times 8 in our case is 24. And then 4 times 9 is 36. In this case, we figure out what two numbers can go in both 24 and 36. I'm gonna pick the bigger number. I'm gonna say 12 can go in both of them. And if 12 goes into both of them, this gives me the number 2, this gives me the number 3, and we end up with the same answer that we had earlier. So let's do one more multiplication problem. In our whiteboard, I have 3 fractions. And I'm going to use the cross cancellation method. Now, if you don't like that, you can just go multiply 5 times 1 times 2 for the numerator, and then do the same for the denominator. In this case, I'm going to go cross cancellation, I'm going to cross over. So I'm going to use red so you can see what I'm crossing out. So I'm going to look at 5 and 20, see if there's anything common with 5 and the 20, or can we mark or divide, what number can divide into both of them evenly. And so in this case, I noticed that 5 can go into 5, oops, and it leaves us a 1, excuse me. And 5 can go, 20 divided by 5 is 4. Let's do the same thing for 6 and 1. Now for 6 and 1, there's nothing we can do. So sometimes numbers won't cross cancel. So there's nothing to do with the 6 and the 1. Let's look, but notice, we can do something with the 6 and the 2. Again, we're going from numerator and denominator. And so 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 2 could go into 6 3 times. So how about 3? 3 and 1, nothing with 3 and 1. 4 and 1, again, we don't have that 5 no more. So now I'm just going to multiply straight across. My red would be 1 times 1 times 1, which in this case, I'm going to put in black is 1. And my bottom would be 3 times the 4 times the 3. So that'd be 9 times 4, which is 36. And so if multiply all the way across and then reduce it, my final answer would be 1 over 36. So for the last section we're going to divide fractions. I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, you don't divide fractions, you multiply fractions. So there's no dividing of fractions, it's really multiplying. You change it to multiplication. And so what you do, you just say 5/8, because this is a division problem, times, now the second fraction, this is what you want to write down, put in your head, that the second fraction, you flip it or take the reciprocal. That's how you make it a multiplication. You must do that with that second number. And then we know how to multiply. All we do here, guys, is numerator, numerator, or we can do cross cancellation. Now, if you like the cross cancellation, if you notice the 8 and the 4, you know 4 goes into 4 and 4, 8 can be divided by 4. But if you don't like that, don't worry about it. We can just go straight across. This would be 20 over 24. And then let's reduce it. In this case, we know 2 can go, and let's just use 2 if we want to. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to use 4. So it'll be a lot quicker because 2, we have to do it again. Let's do 4. In this case, this will be 5. And in this case, when we do this into 24, it gives us 6. So to divide fractions, you don't divide. Let's do another one. You actually multiply and take the reciprocal of the second part of the equation or the problem that you're doing. Excuse me, the problem. So let's look at a problem here. Let's say we have, I'm going to make it a little darker so you can see it. I'm going to use a different number here. Let's say we have 5/12 divided by, and look here. So again, you don't divide fractions, you multiply fractions, so which is good. And so we make this 5/12 times, and then take the reciprocal of the second one. I'm going to put that in blue, 10 over 6. Okay. Now, in this case, I am going to do some reduction just to make the numbers a little bit easier if we can. So notice this, guys. I'm going to look at the 12 and the 5. What two numbers can go in both 12 and 10? Excuse me. I'm already thinking ahead. So 2. And so this can be a 5 and 2, and this would be a 6. Okay, all I did is reduce that. Now, I did that so I could make it easier for me to multiply across. Now, I could continue to do cross cancellation, or I could stop there and just multiply and then reduce. I'm going to stop here and just multiply across. Watch this, guys. 5 times 5 is 25, and then a 6 times 6 is 36. Now, can we reduce that? If we can't, which we cannot, we just circle that. So it'll be 25 over 36 as our answer. Okay. Last type of division. Let's look at dividing. Let's look at this one. Let's say we have 3/4 divided by 1 2/3. Now, I did that because we have now a mixed number in the mix. No pun intended on that one, guys. And so we have a mixed number here. And again, the rule stays the same. The very first thing you want to do is convert all your fractions into improper fractions. So this is 3/4 divided by 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Now we just do a rule of division. We're going to divide. No, we're not. That's right. We're going to multiply because you don't divide fractions. So this would be 3/4. That's good. You got that, guys. Times 3/5. Take the reciprocal of the second piece here. And that's all I did there. Now, Once you do that, and let's put that 5 back. Let's put that 5 back there. We just multiply across because we know how to multiply. So this would be 9 over 20. Again, all I did is multiply across, and then I circle that as a final answer. Now, if I had two different problems where we had a mixed number divided by another mixed number, first thing you do is convert all your mixed numbers as improper fractions, change those that division to a multiplication by, and then you take the reciprocal of the second one or the second part of that problem and then just multiply across. So that's how you divide and also how we multiply fractions. Hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to review again this video and look at some of our resources that we have far as multiplying and also dividing fractions. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for seeing you and talk to you later.